actually been to a few of those cities.
Hi, this is Joe Osuna. Welcome to Inside Leisure World, episode 188. Today we have some members from a club that has such a long name and different versions that when we talk to our guests, each of them is going to give us a different answer. So we're going to start with the newest one, Marcia, because I know she'll be able to make up some names. Okay, Marcia Sample. You're all the way from Houston, Texas, right?
Right.
Okay. We spare no expense to bring celebrities over to Leisure World and to Seal Beach. Tell us the name of the club version that you think you're in, and then we'll talk to another person and she'll tell us.
Well, what I think the name is the Photo Club.
And what's a photo club?
It has to do with taking pictures and displaying your pictures that you've taken.
Okay. And about how long you been in this photo club?
Well, for 2 hours.
2 hours now? Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. Now we're going to talk to the other person next to you, Nancy Hayes, who's the president of this club. And we're going to ask her version of what's the name of the club?
It's called the Photographic Arts Club of Leisure World. It's also known as the Photo Arts Club and just the Photo Club. Photographic Arts is a difficult name. We all do photographs, and that's what it's all about in actuality, is the photos.
So was she pretty spot on as to what it is? It's about photos?
It is about photos.
Okay.
It's about digital photography, and it's about film photography. And it's about learning how to get a good quality photo without having to take 10 of them. You want to get a good shot the first time. You want to, even in digital, you don't want to take 50 pictures and try to find the best one.
You mentioned film. Kids today probably don't know what film is in a camera. Can you describe what film is? Or before you even go there, before the days of film, how did people take photographs? Remember that history? Can you go that far back?
Yes, those are daguerreotypes or tintype photographs. They were pieces of metal that were painted with a silver halide emulsion. And they had to be done in the dark and slid between two pieces of black, what would be considered a frame, to be slid into the camera, and then they would remove one of the black slides, remove the lens cover, and there was a bulb action. Anyway, the photo ended up on this tintype. The film that we know of didn't come about for several years later, but the tintypes were, the cover was slid back in. They were always kept in the dark. They were manipulated in the dark, and the photographs were finished. They did have a safe light in the dark room, a red safe light.
That sounds like a very, very complex, complicated thing to just take one photo.
Well, it was to do one photo, and so that's in the family histories. That's why you'll see so many people outside of their old family house or on a farm or by a boxcar or out on a ranch. That's because they wanted as many people in there. It was so cost prohibitive that by getting all the money together and taking that photograph, they wanted everybody in there. And so you might see as many as 50 people in one photograph. And they didn't do wallet size back then. It was those were just for grandma and grandpa, so they could see the whole family.
Any idea in today's money value of a photograph, like how much in today's money would that type of photograph cost? $1,000, $500, $200? What do you think we're talking about?
If we're talking about the same size photograph, and it would be on film and not on a tin type product.
On the tin type.
Oh,
Say, let's say I hired somebody in the 1800s, and I want a photograph of the Klan, and I hire somebody. What would approximately cost be in today's dollars? Any idea?
it would probably be about 10 grand.
Oh my goodness, that's expensive.
It was expensive then. Even if it was $50 back then, that was a lot of
Sure.
money. That was 3 months' rent in a lot of cases, or 6 months' rent in a lot of cases. And that's why it was so important for them to have someone of interest in those photos. A lot of the grandma and grandpa photos that we look at, and they'll go, "Oh, I don't remember that, but I think that was her birthday." And if you sit and get them to talk long enough, they'll pull in different family names of who was there. Unlike digital, that cannot necessarily be done.
Okay, so then the next evolution was then the typical rolled film that
Kodak.
that us grandpa and grandma remembers.
Yes,
Okay.
Kodak was a huge company in Rochester, New York, that influenced Hollywood and filmmakers all over the world. But there were a lot of other great companies. Hasselblad, excuse me. There was German companies. Cameras made in Russia. Leica was made in Germany. The optics of a Leica camera are far beyond the cheap little cameras that you get today. What you get today is most often a plastic lens.
Okay.
My first lens in the darkroom was an inexpensive lens, and I didn't think it would be a big difference. But for the life of me, I couldn't get it to focus.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're talking about film then. Back to Marcia. Can you tell us your experiences in camera work? Because obviously you must have an interest because you're in this photographic artistic club. How did you develop an interest, or what created that interest in your in going in this direction?
Well, I think as a child I did have an interest in taking pictures. I would set up my dolls and take pictures of them and my cats. And I just had an interest, but nothing came of it at that time. And then when I moved to Virginia Beach, Virginia, I took a class in photography. The first semester was learning how to take a good shot. He would give certain assignments, how to take a picture of a chair or a car or some other object. And I tried and tried, but really not very good. But then the second semester, we learned how to develop the film into the negative, and then from the negative to make photos. And eventually I got my own equipment, the enlarger, filters, the paper, everything, all the chemicals. I learned how to do that, and it was a lot of fun.
Okay, got a couple of questions for Marcia. How did you get the cats to pose for you?
I took them as they were just doing something, sleeping or sitting, looking at me or playing.
Okay. You didn't have to drug them or anything, huh?
No.
Okay. And the other question was, what was your experience when you first developed a photograph and that you saw that image? Can you remember that? How did you feel?
The first time was in the class.
Okay.
And I just thought it was a lot of fun. It was exciting to see something come up that had been blank, and now it's a picture.
So kind of describe to the audience what it is that you just said right now. You had a plain piece of paper, and what happened to make it into a picture?
Well, you would use the negative that you had the film that was in your camera. You exposed it, you got a picture. Then you had to develop the film, which became the negative. And then from that, you would put one of the negatives. They were probably maybe 5, 6, 7 negatives together, shots. And you would select one and put it under the glass, the lens, and the light was shining through the lens, and you would expose it to the paper. So you would take that blank paper that had just been exposed, and you'd put it in your developer chemical. And then once the picture came, then you'd put it in your stop bath to keep it from continuously developing. And then you would put it in a third solution that would wash off the stop bath or to preserve it. And then you would hang it up to dry.
Okay. All that for one photograph, one picture.
Yeah.
So that was even complex also in that era, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to then move out of that era into the modern digital camera, and we'll talk to Nancy about that part. So Nancy, what is the difference then between a digital camera and the old style camera film that Marcia was talking about? What's the biggest difference that you can talk about?
Instant satisfaction. That's the biggest. You get to see the picture on the back of the camera, or even a video camera or whatever. You just flip that lens around and there you can see what you've done. If you don't like it, if you see it's blurred, you can just throw it away magically and take another photo. That seems like an endless roll of film.
So about how many pictures can you take on a digital camera? What's the general rule?
You can, on a card, on a disc, a CD disc, you can put about 500 pictures. I have had almost 1,000 photos at one time digital on my camera, which takes a little time to download. And there's many places you can do that. There's very simple places. There's Target and Walmart and any of the drugstores that have a drop-off for film. Costco does, Fomex does. It's still very easy to get film developed and digital. You can either put it on a USB drive or a thumb drive, what they call, or a disc. You can use the computer at the facility, such as Target or Walmart, and so actually select the photo. If you have 200 pictures and you only want 3 of them printed out, you just touch those 3 pictures and that's all you have to deal with. And that's really a time-saving, money-saving feature, rather than having to spend all that money developing 200 pictures.
Okay. How does somebody join your club? What are the requirements?
I'd like for them to have an interest in photography on any level, from beginning to middle to advanced to just wanting to know how cameras work. We meet there in Clubhouse 3, Room 9, on the second Thursday of every month.
What time?
From 1:30 to 3 o'clock as our business meeting, and we talk about what people are doing. We do a little round table and see what's going on out there. And then we've started this year having workshops. We had one workshop on tabletop photography and one on portrait photography, portrait and lighting. And as we get older, we always think of ourselves as not being as attractive as we were in our 20s. But the truth is we're very attractive. And it's about lighting and learning how to take the right picture of someone. I had someone say to me, all the pictures I've had taken of me, I've always been the top of my head. And I said, well, have your photographer sit down. Or you stand up and they sit down. Sometimes it's a little thing, but if you're not trained to see it, you don't think about it.
Okay, so back to the joining your club then. Okay, can you
Yes, I'm
repeat
sorry.
where we meet, the time, and who can they call for further information and the phone number?
Absolutely, they could call myself, Nancy Hayes. My home phone number is area code 562-795-1813.
Can you say it one more time?
Yes, it's area code 562-795-1813.
Okay, and where and when do you meet?
The second Thursday of the month in Clubhouse 3, room 9.
Okay.
You're only a guest one time at the club. We hope to envelop you and just make you want to be a permanent member of our group.
Okay.
And these workshops seem to be solidifying. Those will be put in the paper with an advance notice. If you would like to get on to the mailing list for the minutes, you just need to submit your email address and we can get a copy of that out to you. The first couple of copies will give you the workshop dates and on becoming a member.
Okay. Back to Marcia then. Marcia, how many were you a guest at least one time before you joined the club, or did you join it right away, or what hooked you into joining this particular club?
Well, again, the interest I have in photography, and I felt like I could, learn a lot more, and so I went the first time last month. I believe it was February. Anyway, I've been there one time, and then I went to one of the workshops.
Okay, remember what kind of workshop it was?
The lighting.
Okay.
Portrait photography and how to use the light.
Why is lighting important?
It gives you a better shot if you know how to use it. And you make the person look better if you know how to use the right lighting.
Okay. Okay. Back to Nancy now. Nancy, I heard that there's some kind of exhibition at the at the library, I think.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What's that about?
Currently, there is a show in the library, 50 Years of Cameras. The cameras go from 1933, 24, all through the 50s. Kodak did a lot during the 50s. There's a Russian-made camera, German-made cameras, Polaroids, the instant films. It's a treat down memory lane if you haven't thought about those old photographs that you have of you sitting out in the lawn or on a picnic with somebody. These film cameras, they were there. Their similarities were there, and these are the photos that you look back on, and these are the cameras that brought your life into the future for you to show your kids, your grandkids. It's really an extensive. It's an extensive collection. It's about 40% of.
Okay, and how long is this exhibit going to last?
It lasts through the end of April.
Okay.
The library, the Leisure World Library, was gracious enough to grant us almost a 2-month exhibit in there. And it's the Photographic Arts Club exhibit. There are a lot of my personal cameras in there. But when I say personal, that's because they're used by everybody. So they're personal to everybody, really.
Okay, you mentioned 1933 camera. What would be a 1933 camera at your exhibit?
It's totally black. It does not have an adjustable lens that you maneuver to focus. You have to pull the entire lens area out of the camera. You get an infinity setting at that point. You would have to really be good at the f-stops on your camera or know a lot about lighting or depth of field to be able to set that anywhere in between. The 33 was a Depression era camera, and just to be able to take photos at that time, that's really something. And you can see the complexity of the cameras as it moves forward in time. This Tourister camera that's in there, it's a Kodak Tourister. They believe that camera, one like it, made it to the top of Mount Everest. There were two hikers on their way up, two coming down, and the one gave the other one the camera to take pictures when they got to the top. They are looking for that camera today, as it did not return, but with today's locating devices, they have great hopes of finding it. The film would not be ruined because it's been kept in the dark and cold, and it should be a very exciting find.
You know, that must have been a very rugged camera to take that type of, I don't know, altitude and coldness and bouncing around.
Yes, altitude doesn't affect a film camera as much as it does digital, but heat and cold will always affect it. I've had my lens covers freeze to my lens because it got so cold, and you just breathe on them until you thaw them out. But it was a vest pocket camera. It completely collapsed. It had a bellows front end on it, completely collapsed, and it was only about maybe an inch thick. A very, very flexible, very versatile. Had two lens viewfinders on it for taking horizontal and vertical. Complete adjustments for the film, for taking.
Okay, so if a resident in Leisure World wants to see that camera,
It's on display.
it's on display at the
Yes.
library for the month of April.
Yes,
Okay, great.
yes.
Okay, now you also have some other displays, because I've been walking around Clubhouse 3 and I see some stuff on the wall. What's that?
Our members are allowed to exhibit on the wall. We have a frame section for photographs. They're voted on by the members of the club. We have our first, second, and third place winners every month that are out there. We also have people who just want to display a camera, or I'm sorry, a photograph. On the other half of the wall, we have a corkboard lining that those don't have to be framed. They do have to be mounted in a mount board, and that kind of protects the photograph a little bit. But also in Clubhouse 5, we share a display case. We have half photography, half lapidary, the rock shop, by the elevator in the recreation building as you go up. And there's a lot of interesting cameras in there, the Instamatics with the cube flash bulbs, and we have some of the magnesium flash bulbs from the old brighten up your day,
Okay.
blind you at the same time photographs.
Okay. So hopefully those are under lock and key or protected somehow. So
Yep,
They're safe?
they're under lock and key.
okay, all right.
Yeah, they're. I would be very happy to answer any questions if people have questions about the cameras.
Okay.
They can still call me at my home. That number again is 562-795-1813,
Okay.
and my name again is Nancy Hayes.
Okay. Since you've been talking about cameras, we're going to bounce back to Marcia.
Good.
Okay. So, what kind of camera do you use?
I have a Canon PowerShot, just digital camera, and like Nancy said, it's instant satisfaction because you get to see it once you take it. You can just look at your camera and see what it is, how it turned out. And if you don't like it, you can just erase it.
So is it very hard to use that type of camera that you're just describing?
No, just point and shoot.
Okay, so do you have an option also of some customized settings as well with that camera? Okay.
Yes.
But most people, I think, stay on the easy way of using a camera and leave it on automatic. Would that be right?
That's right.
Okay. Can you get some decent pictures with automatic settings?
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very pleased with it.
Okay, now do you have, in your house, is it full of photographs on every wall, or describe how you collect your photos, or do you keep them?
I keep them in albums, large, medium size and small. I have a lot of 4x6, 4x7 photographs,
Okay.
and that's mostly what they are. But when I was doing the film, I just have them in a large album.
Okay. Did you ever just photograph in black and white, or has it always been color in your case?
When I was learning photography, it was black and white.
Okay. What are the advantages of doing it in black and white compared to color, or disadvantages? If you were talking to a new person and try to explain to them what that is.
Well, black and white, I guess you could say, is easier as far as developing. As we mentioned before, color is very involved.
Okay. So in terms of developing, black and white would be easier in your case.
Yeah.
Okay. But what about the composure, or what the look of the photograph? What do you like better, black and white, or do you like color?
I would say color, but there are some good black and whites.
Okay, but what's your favorite though?
It's color.
Color. Okay, so
Yeah.
you like color.
Yeah.
Nancy, what is your favorite, black and white or color?
I like them both, and that's another thing about digital. These cameras, you can switch over to black and white and color on the same card, so it really opens up a really big world for you to decide how you want to shoot. If you're shooting grandkids, or if you go to a wedding, or whatever you do, digital allows you to be very flexible. It also has a document setting, so that you can photograph documents without getting a lot of that glare back off of white paper. So there's tremendous advantages to it.
Okay. Nancy, can you manipulate an image after you've taken a photograph in a camera?
Absolutely. There's a variety of programs out there that can help you change color, distort. You can absolutely change the entire shape of your photograph if you like. It's a very fun hobby.
Okay, so
Allows you a lot of interest, a lot of flexibility. And sometimes you can save a bad photo. Sometimes you can take one that's a slightly blurred or that has a red eye image, and you can manipulate that back to where the eyes are not red and glowing. That's also a handy thing to be able to do.
okay, and can you make them funny also?
Yes, yes you can. There's programs you can elongate the smiles and stretch the chins, and there's a lot of fun things you can do. I mean, to just really get you interested, to strike your funny bone.